Pollard. We are incredibly honored to have you here with us today. We are truly inspired by the remarkable contributions you have made in the spaces of higher education, which is why here at Rio Salado College and throughout Maricopa colleges, we are beyond excited to learn from you, your experiences, and the outstanding work you're doing around DIB and really shaping the higher ed field, not just in Nevada, but nationally as well. So thank you for being here with us.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Pollard. Also thrilled to introduce our amazing president, Dr. Kate Smith, whose dedication to DIB radiates throughout the college. Thank you for everything you do for our community and beyond. And here on the main stage, or so called, we also have one of my favorite colleagues, Dr. Latrice Gettings, a distinguished professor and active leader of our DEIB Council. And with that, again, a warm welcome to everybody that's here from our guests. You know, we had over 100 folks sign in or signed up for this event. I'm hoping that they're able to figure out some little gaps that we had there to be able to come and join us. So thank you all from Rio Salado College, Maricopa colleges, and institutions within Nevada system of higher education, especially NSU. So thank you for joining us here today. And Dr. Kate Smith, would you like to share some words?
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Raina. And please join me in thanking Raina. She has just come to Rio and just doing an outstanding job of leading us forward at organizing and helping us engage in incredible conversations like today. I don't know, Raina, how you got Dr. Pollard here because I am one of her card carrying fan club members. And so we're so excited to welcome Dr. Pollard, excuse me, but please join me in thanking Raina. She's just doing such a wonderful job leading for Rio Salado College. It's really amazing. And then colleagues who are joining us, please also extend your gratitude or join me in extending gratitude to our entire Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Council, who work tirelessly to support many conversations, including this wonderful series of really meaningful conversations and dialogue. So thank you to the entire council. We just greatly appreciate every single one of you. And you know, we invite leaders like Dr. Pollard to share their knowledge with all of us, to share some of their wisdom. They're so kind to share some of their personal story along the way, which really increases our community engagement, our awareness, and really to help empower all of us and creates a safe space where we can have really good dialogue, meaningful conversations while we're together. And then as we reflect and as we follow up with each other. And really, I'm going to say, Dr. Pollard, our times together like this really help us remain focused and highlight why it's so imperative we remain focused on building inclusive spaces, focus on inclusion, and remain laser focused on equity, which is an integral part of our college values and all that we strive to do. These events also really help us champion civic engagement, right? And really inviting us all together to engage, to address complex issues, to talk about our shared resources and really what we can do as a community as well as individuals. So with that said, really, let's just get to it because I don't know how many of you have joined who heard me be like, you gotta come because you're gonna love Dr. Pollard. And so let me tell you a little bit for those of you who are not as familiar with Dr. Pollard or have not had the pleasure of meeting her yet. I'll give you some of her biography, and it's only a snippet because otherwise we would spend an hour just sharing about her amazing accomplishments. She's not only the first Black female president of any higher education institution in Nevada, but she's a trailblazer who has tirelessly promoted equity and inclusion across higher education. Since beginning her tenure at Nevada State University, she has initiated numerous programs that demonstrate her deep commitment to social justice and economic mobility. Under her leadership, NSU has seen significant growth, and is proudly recognized as a minority serving institution, a Hispanic serving institution, and an Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. Nearly half of Nevada State students are first generation college students, which Dr. Pollard is very similar at Rio Salado College and across so many of our institutions. And in this, which helps underscore the university's dedication to expanding and diversifying an educated workforce. Beyond her work at the college, Dr. Pollard contributes actively to the community and the broader educational landscape in numerous ways. She serves on several influential boards, including the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance and the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, and is a respected voice on national panels focused on the success of first-generation students. Among a few of her very many accolades, Dr. Pollard was named one of the 2023 Women to Watch by Nevada Business Magazine, received the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance 2023 Leadership Award, and was recognized as one of Washington's 100 most powerful women by the Washington, oh my gosh, help me, I can't say it right.
Washingtonian.
Washingtonian magazine. Oh, colleagues, really? Anyway, thank you for helping me out. Dr. Pollard holds a bachelor's and a master's of arts in English from Iowa State University, as well as a PhD in educational leadership and policy studies in higher education from Loyola University. And then I'm going to say, perhaps her personal journey from being a first generation college student to becoming a transformative educational leader that is most profoundly illustrates the power and potential of inclusive education. So with that, would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Pollard to Rio Salado College? It's our great honor. Woo!
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. As several of you know, I've spent quite a bit of time in the Maricopa system doing some work from time to time there. So having the opportunity to come back and work specifically and talk with Rio Salado in this dialogue is really important. I am a huge fan of Kate. I've had the opportunity of watching her career grow in the system and excited to be here. Congratulations to our colleagues for the work they're doing. I'm watching the chat a little bit as well. Cyclone in the house. Iowa State University was there from 88 to 95 when I did my bachelor's and master's there. So happy to be here today. And if I do this well, I think we have a little bit less than an hour together, and I'll be quiet and follow the lead of our colleagues in terms of how they'd like to proceed next. Thank you, though. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pollard, Dr. Smith. And before we dive into it, I'm sorry we are having a long introduction. Just so much to say about Dr. Pollard, and we're excited to share that all with you. Dr. Latrice, are there any quick words you would like to share before we get started?
Yes, I would just like everyone to, well, welcome everyone. Welcome you, Dr. Pollard. I'm excited to hold this space with you. And for everyone that's joining us, I just wanted to let you know that you're currently on mute right now. But once we get to the question answering part, you're more than welcome to either put your questions in the chat. Raina and I will be monitoring the chat, or you're free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. So we would like to get started with having a conversation with Dr. Pollard right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Latrice. So yes, once we get to the Q&A, you will be able to use the hand feature. There's a feature then, and we'll go one by one. You could unmute yourself. We could have you here in the main screen. And that's kind of the logistics of that. But I think we are ready, Dr. Pollard. The format for today is we'll have some rapid fire questions to start us off, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper with some more in-depth questions. And then again, you will all get an opportunity to ask any questions you have on your end. So with that being said, let's get started, Dr. Pollard. So we have about 10 quick fire questions. So let's see here. Yes, we're ready? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, favorite hobby?
So I would say reading and watching cooking shows
Love that.
and travel. So those would be the three would be there. Note I said watching cooking shows, not cooking.
Okay. Maybe there's gets inspiration from there though. I don't know. I sometimes no. Okay, I'll leave it. Top three favorite books.
This was hard because you're talking to an English professor. So, but I went through the three that have probably been the most inspirational to me right now. The first being The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, changed my life, was actually made me become an English professor. I'll say one that helped me make sense of a lot of things, at least how I wanted to curtail my own life, is a day book called Simple Abundance. And then a third one that I think is just a great one about personal governance, how you lead yourself, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the first self-help books, I guess you could call it. And that was really important to me to kind of help this introvert who also has a lot of ADHD to kind of figure out how to make sense of myself. So those would probably be the three.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Pollard. I hope you're all taking notes of those 3 books for us to visit. Okay, hip hop or rock?
Neither. I'm going to have to say gospel.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. No,
But
that is totally.
I'll say hip hop I'll say, but yeah, I'm a, gospel music kind of girl.
Oh, nice. Is there a top favorite song or gospel song that you?
Okay, so the idea I've got, but I do like all music. My friends would tell you I'm a little bit of a music head, but gospel is my go-to. But I'll say my top 3 favorite songs because you gave me this pre-list, so I had to sit down and kind of go through it. So where I'm at right now, "Safe in His Arms," that's a classic, and my favorite is hearing my sister sing that song. Second, Queen Bee, "You Won't Break My Soul," that's been on rotation heavy of late because some people got me in my feelings, so I've been listening to that. And then I'll say the third one, there's this guy I like out of England called Rag and Bone Man, and he's got this song called "Talking to Myself." That's really resonating with me. So those are my top 3 right now. You ask me tomorrow, I'm likely to have something different.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I still think B's last album was so underrated. I think we could still be listening more Beyonce all the time, but okay.
Yep.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Mm, what kind of tea?
My favorite is a chai, although I like almost any black tea, but I drink it as the British do with cream, and I like sugar in it. So I am a tea drinker for sure, hardcore tea drinker.
Noted. Let's see, early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
I relate to that. My brain starts going, it's like midnight, and people are like, why are you still up? I'm like, I have great ideas right now. Please let me be. Okay, beach or mountain?
Beach.
Any particular kind of beach or favorite beach?
I'm gonna go with the Caribbean. Anytime I can stick my feet in the sand and have a drink with a cocktail next to me, I'm a happy little girl.
Love that. Well, being from Honduras, I would go with that answer as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Pollard, for entertaining us with this quick little questions here and getting to know you more on a personal level.
No problem.
Thank you, thank you. And Dr. Kate Smith, would you like to get us started with our first in-depth question we have here
Yeah,
today?
here you go, Dr. Pollard. It's like whack-a-mole. I think we're gonna like different people are gonna pop up with questions at you. So if you would be so kind, would you share a little bit about how your personal background, any possible family influences or family-like influences, and your belief in the power of higher education shaped your journey and your ability to cultivate meaningful relationships that promote social justice and community engagement?
So I think my very existence commands and demands that I do that. I don't know how not to. I am a little Black girl who was raised on the south side of Chicago, and I already know that I am my ancestors' biggest and wildest dreams by the fact that I sit in these seats. I was not destined to be here. There was a lot of hard work for me to be here, and more importantly, I had a team of people who helped me realize my potential. I was always fairly smart, as one would say. I did well academically for the most part until I got to college and I had to figure out a few things. but I always came from a rich community that, I remember as an eighth grader, you graduated from eighth grade, and at my church, they gave you a $50 savings bond because it was like this investment that this community was making in me. And it was, as we all know, a $50 savings bond, hardly meant anything when you first got it, but it was the fact that I was being seen and I was being invested in as a community. That meant a lot to me. I'll also say that I went to college, and I knew that my family always planned for me to go to college. We knew that that was going to happen, but we didn't know how. I was stepping into a system that was not designed for me or my success. I'll even offer, as I made a comment to someone the other day, I often showed up in spaces where I was intended for me to be there and unwanted. So I think that has led me profoundly to how I've always chosen to work in institutions that have a profound commitment around a mission that is about changing communities and lives individually. I've only worked in organizations that have a deep commitment around access. I would not do well in an organization that takes itself so seriously that they work harder to keep people out than to bring people in. So I know for me, that is where I will always work and show up at and have the privilege of now leading through leadership, serving through leadership, because it is indeed an important space for me. I'll also say that for me, when you ask this personal journey, all of these intersections are important. Having grown up the first in my family to complete college, having been a graduate of public education in Chicago, going to school in Iowa, where you're like, whoa, where did they go and get all the Black kids and brown kids? And they brought us to Iowa because they were trying to diversify the campus. And it was a small community. I pledged a sorority, Z Phi. And as a result of that, those were a part of who I was. It gave me community, gave me a sense of self. And I had tremendous amounts of people around me who encouraged me. I fell in love in college and have been with my wife for over 35 years. And we have a beautiful 17-year-old son who is the love of my life. And my life is bigger than that. But I work with colleagues now who understand that. I look at, I saw one of my colleagues, Dr. Marcela, on here, and we, when I look at the energy, I know that my space right now is I may be the first at any number of different things, but my job is to make sure I'm not the last. So it is to expand the table. It is to make sure other people have seats at the table. It is also for me sometimes to remove myself or others from the table so that we can create space for other folks to be there. That's the real power of equity. That's the real work that I think we have to have substantive conversations about. And shaping that, as you asked the question, Kate, in this moment it is perilous. We are under attack in higher education. We're seeing DEI. I don't know how y'all manage in Arizona right now, but it's hard work right now. So we have to be unapologetic. And that's the ethos that we have at Nevada State. We know who we serve. 75% of our students are students of color, 50% are first generation, 80% of our graduates live in state. So if you want the future of this state to be anything that the future demands it to be, it is reliant upon organizations like ours. So we've leaned into our greatness and we're unapologetic about that.
Dr. Pollard, thank you so much. I want to quote you. I may be the first at any number of things. It's my job to make sure I'm not the last. Thank you for that relentless pursuit. Would you mind sorry, I'm just going rogue a little, sorry, Rena, but would you mind sharing, I think you actually really probably already kind of hit on it, but I didn't know if there was any more. And when you showed up in spaces that were not built for you, did not welcome you, and perhaps you were not wanted in that space. How did you navigate through that? Because that's really difficult.
Yeah, I love that question because that's really the work, right? So let me be quite frank about this. I had to learn how to build my armor, and not in the way that Brene Brown talks about in terms of building armor, but what I believe in, because I love Brene Brown, my senior team, we're reading Dare to Lead right now. Speaking of, somebody needs to remind me, we got to put that back on the agenda. So there is this idea for us that as a group, though, we step into these spaces that were not intended for us to be there or to be successful, it is required of us to step into them. So I always believe that I need to be smarter than they think I am. I need to be faster than they think I am. I need to be able to process information more quickly than they think that I can. And I also have to be willing to sit in that space and be uncomfortable from time to time. But I also have to have a tribe of people and spaces where I can go, where I can get my energy renewed, where I can feel safe, where I'm able not to internalize at such a level that it corrodes my confidence. I have to be grounded in who I am and what I'm willing to able to accomplish, what I'm willing to sacrifice in these spaces. And I think a lot of us don't do that work of, and this is literally, you probably see this all the time, President, where I'll get letters from folks, so I want to move into this role, I want to step into this seat, and I'll say, well, what are your accomplishments? And we talk about the outcomes that they've had, but then my next part is, okay, how have you readied your psyche or soul for it? Because if you want to step into spaces where you're the first or you're the only, you have to understand what that means when you step into that, because people will say things that you'll be surprised that they felt comfortable saying in your presence, and you have to decide if you're going to, how you will correct, if you will correct, or when you will have to clap back. Some of y'all know what I mean when I say that. There are moments when you have to figure out how to do that in different ways. I will say, and I'll speak quite candidly, I have worked in, my career started in Iowa as a graduate student. I went to Illinois. I'm from Chicago, so that wasn't that big, but I was in the northern suburbs. Then I went to California, where I was a president of a college in California. I was in Maryland, where I was a president of an institution there. And then I arrived at Nevada. I will tell you that Nevada State is the only, is the place where I've had the most reconciliation that I've had to do in public about how people respond and treat me. I've been able to do a lot of things in private and other spaces, but I've learned, and my colleagues will tell you, there have been a couple of times where I just have to remind people, I'm not just a pretty face. I didn't pop into this role. I earned this space. I know the job. I know how to do it. So periodically, you may have to remind people of that in delicate ways and sometimes not in delicate ways. And that has been an interesting moment for me to be here. So I know that if I lean into what my faith tells me, and when I lean into what my sense of confidence in, is that I believe I'm in this space right now for a reason. And that is all of the other work has prepared me to be here.
Dr. Pollard, I can't thank you enough. You just went right to the heart of those moments and did it so beautifully, eloquently, and with so much, colleagues. I hope we're recording this. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure who's asking her the next question. Sorry.
I am. I'm asking the next question. Well, first, I would like to thank you for your response. Thank you for explaining how it feels to show up in spaces sometimes where you may feel like you're not wanted or you're getting that resistance. I truly understand how you feel because I've been in different spaces and felt like that. And it is important to have that strong support team, that team that you can go to. I'm also from Chicago, south side of Chicago. So being able to, like my grandmother said, having that village that you can go to, those people who you can lean on, those people who you can confide in, who you can cry with, and those people who are going to get you back together and encourage you and tell you to get back out there because you're made for this, you're built for this. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. So my question for you, and President Kate Smith talked a little bit about this, but you have had so many accomplishments and exceptional milestones, being the first Black female president of any Nevada system of higher education institution, and then holding previous leadership roles in higher education, also serving in various capacities, whether it's on boards as a member or as a director, being recognized in magazines, receiving awards. You are truly an example of a well-rounded educated and inspiring person. And I'm just in awe of being able to hold this space with you and hear your story. But with all of the awards, accomplishments, achievements, and accolades, my question is, what are 3 achievements that hold special significance to you and why?
Mm. So if I can tell this by way of a story, and I think it'll be very evident to you where I am. So there are 2 things I think are really important. I think leading is a verb and not a noun. So, and I think sometimes people get caught up in president and not presidenting, and they forget the fact that this is about work. And it's also about, at the end of the day, how you want to show up. But here's the beautiful part about this, my friends, is that this is not where I want folks to remember the value proposition that I brought to this to life. In my family, and a few of you all may have heard me say this before, I am known as the obituary. I'm a writer. So when somebody dies in the family, I write all the obituaries. Anybody, it's just known. You call, and I have it down to a 5-paragraph theme. I know how to do it. You give me a 5-paragraph theme. First paragraph, I talk about how you were born and to whom you were born. Second paragraph is about your youth. Third paragraph is about your adult life. Fourth paragraph is about work and your personal hobbies. And the fifth paragraph is about who you leave with. And if I know a little bit about it, I can do all of that fairly quickly because in my family, that was it. And I was sitting in a professional development training one time, and we were at the end of this, and the guy asked us to write our tombstone as well as our own obituary. And I started getting into my feelings in this conversation because I can't write my own obituary. I got my own death issues. My mother died when I was very young, and I'm always trying to figure out what I want to leave to be my legacy. And here's the thing that I want to say that I want to see on my tombstone, which I think answers your question. It is, I want my tombstone to say she was a hell of a girlfriend. I want them to say she had a phenomenal laugh, that she was a loving and dedicated parent, that she was a hell of a wife, that she was a phenomenal lover, that she was a erudite reader, that she understood how to serve her community. And she did so by choosing to work at organizations that were about upliftment of families and communities and individuals. I would be mad and come back and haunt people if it says it starts off as she was a phenomenal or good college president, that she was a leader in higher ed. That's not how I see myself. I see myself as I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I am a mother, I'm a girlfriend, I ride hard with my people. That's the types of things that I wanted to be said about, that she loved reading and she got in trouble because she liked good tequila and a cigar every once in a while. Those are the things that I want to be on my tombstone. So I live my life the way that Stephen Covey said, with the end in mind. And those are the things that, so usually when people write, and I get mad, though, we have the official bio, you got it. And I felt sorry for you, Kate, that you had to read parts of it. There's actually the one at the bottom that I like for it to say that I wrote myself. I'm a first-generation college student, the child of a motherless child healed by parenting. I was raised on food stamps. I went to college on a dream and a prayer, and I work really hard at the work that I do. So I remember who I am. And I think that value system of authenticity, that value system of being aware that I've surrounded myself with people who are far smarter than me. I look at my colleagues who are on here from Nevada State, Elizabeth Gunn, Dr. Adit, Dr. Marcel, they're smarter than me. So my job as the college president is to make sure I bring their talents together in a way that advances a mission that's bigger than all of us. If I do that well, that's all y'all got to say. She knew how to bring people together. She knew how to have a good mixer. She knew how to make a good cocktail. Those are the things that I think that my life should be about. And that's what I work hard at doing, trying to anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's nothing, I think for me, it's nothing more fulfilling than having that good girlfriend. Everyone should have that good girlfriend who will also hold you
That
to
part.
what you supposed to be responsible for, or they will call you out, but at the same time, they will love on you and they're gonna be there. They're gonna ride with you to the end. But that good girlfriend that's really true to you, that's
Yeah.
really honest to you. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. I just want, yeah, I love your point about the good girlfriend because they're your truth tellers, right? They're the ones who are going to tell you, okay, you're getting a little too cocky here, or you got when you're at that meeting, or I call and say, am I crazy about this? No, you're not crazy. I watched that. This is what they did. So you need to have one of those inside, and you got to have several of them outside because they're the ones. And when you got to cry, that ugly cry, you need to have a place where you can do that. But the ones who will get you right. My best friend, I'll never forget this. She was a president of an organization, and she just had a board meeting that was from hell. And some people came after her at this meeting, and she called me and she was crying, and we're on the phone doing the thing as girlfriends do, right? And then she said, oh, and I got to go back into this other meeting at 4 o'clock. I said, so you got 10 more minutes of crying, then you're going to get your face together, and then we're going to have a little bit of conversation, and you're going to go back in here because you're not going to let them see this part. This is what we do. We keep the sacredness of this. And you got to have people around you who remind you of who you are in the midst of folks forgetting who you are. That's important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the realness and honesty. The question I have for you, Dr. Pollard, is why do you believe integrating DIB efforts across higher education is so important? Could you share examples of DIB initiatives at your institution that have been particularly impactful, and what factors do you believe contribute to their success?
Well, I think at the most basic level, and I'm not a scientist, I'm a humanist. My degrees are in English as a discipline, but I think if you study biology, we've learned that everything in life and the only way we sustain life and we grow and evolve is through diversity. In fact, when we get too much of the same together, we stagnate. We might even start to die. So, in my perspective, is that the work of DEI and actually, I'm going to add, I like to use also justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, is that we have to talk about making those spaces where every person has the right to belong and thrive, and that we learn as an organization that this is a part of our evolution process. I think at Nevada State, we try to do this through several key principles. One is that we look at inclusive policies and practices. We look at culturally responsive education. We believe in equity and access and success. And then we work a lot on community engagement and collaboration. So we have a group of folks here who lead our CEDI area that really spends a tremendous amount of time making connection. In fact, they've crafted what we call the Multicultural Collective, and they do tremendous work in developing partnerships inside and outside of the organization. We partner with the Asian Community Development Council around voter engagement and food insecurity. We partner with Solidarity Fridge to reduce food waste on our campuses to share those resources. We partner with community stakeholders such as Make the Road Nevada and the Mexican Consulate to develop programming. We are able to collaborate with the Immigrant Career Summit, where we're able to highlight resources to help start businesses and professional development. We do teach-ins, not unlike the one we're doing here, for community leaders to connect with our campus and engage in relevant and timely explorations of topics of comfort and need. We identify existing disparities. We've focused around, we're part of ASCU, similar to the community colleges with AACC. ASCU is for the state college universities, and we've done focus groups through a very intentional project around identifying institutional barriers and really thinking about how we respond as an organization. Our CEDI area has brought to me a work on with our students, amplifying the student voice. So I've been doing a number of roundtables with students from various population groups to hear about their lived experience, not how I think they live and show up, but how they experience our organization. And I have learned tremendously from that. We host the Henderson Equity Center, so we can offer LGBTQ plus I allyship training on our campus and be very thoughtful about that. I think if you were in Nevada, you would hear very clearly that Nevada State University is a leader in this space. Our folks pay attention when Nevada State does something, and we lean into who our demography is. And I tell people all the time, you know, it's easy for some of other institutions to really struggle about putting together a message. I don't have the luxury of not talking about equity and inclusion and justice because I know who we serve. And I'm unapologetic about that. I am bold about that. And in fact, we believe be bold, be great, be state, because we know that is essential to our community. The other one that I say we spend a lot of time on, and we know is really amplifying spaces and voices that oftentimes are dismissed or ignored. So we are very committed around our work supporting undocumented students. We're active with the make sure I get the right, undocumented student program, where we do allyship training. We work with an outside entity to provide scholarships for students to navigate our organization. And then we also think a lot about how we as an organization work for inclusion and their lived experience here. That was one of the student groups I met with a couple of weeks ago as well. So I think for us, we've learned, and I always believe if you lead with the student voice first, you inevitably you don't get to, because then you have an agenda here. My only agenda is students. And if I say that every time, then it starts to resonate. You know, we have a couple of issues going on in our system right now. And every time we say something, if the student voice can be first and I can show the numbers about who our students are, it is amazing to me how that changes the discourse. You can dismiss Darian. You can say that I'm a 53-year-old woman who's got X, Y, or Z agenda. But when I tell you about Marcus and Mohammed and Marcella, and I tell you about their lived experience, and that's who we serve, then you don't have any credibility with me if you don't want to hear their stories.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Pollard. This time is so wonderful. I hope you're seeing some in the chat. I think we're just going to jump to kind of the last pre-question we had so we can open it up, because
Sure.
I think a lot of people are really would love to engage. So a little, I think we're going to have a lot of folks on who would be interested just to hear a little bit from you about your thoughts, your recommendations for colleagues who want to advance their own professional growth and really help drive positive institutional change. I will say I think you really brought up some really great thoughts about helping people prepare themselves already. But if there's more you can add to that or that you'd want to share, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you for that. One of my big ones is do the work. And, you know, I had a few years ago and I was at a previous institution and I had a gentleman reach out to me. He says, "Oh, Dr. P, I just stepped in as the president of Montgomery College. I've been there for about a year, and I had 2 vice presidential openings. And he, one in student affairs and one in academic affairs. And he wrote me, he says, Dr. P, I just want to come and work for you. And I have my resume together and I want to apply for either of those 2 positions. Let me know." So several of us, that might have caught your attention because it got mine. I said, wow, you got to have deep subject area competence that you're going to want to apply for either of the vice presidencies in academic affairs or student affairs. I said, wow, this kid must be something else. So I said, send me your stuff. So I got his stuff and I read it. So he called me. He said, can we schedule a time to talk and you can let me know what I should do? And I said, okay. So we got on the phone and I said, hey, let's have a conversation. I said, do you want me to speak honestly and deliberately to you? Because I needed to know he was able to receive the message I was going to give him. And he said, oh yeah. He said, I'm ready for it. You know, lay it on me, Dr. P. And I said, well, here's what I need to tell you. You're not ready for either of those positions. And let me tell you why. And here's the message I would say to President Smith about a couple of things that we should tell folks very honestly. One is that your resume should not just be your job description. It should be about the outcomes that you produced as a result of being in that job. So my resume and my CV, if you actually look at it, I will give a descriptor of the institution where I was at, what my responsibilities were, and then I list the outcomes. That's what you need to be able to say what you did. Don't tell me that you were responsible for a budget of this and number of people here, but yet you did nothing with that. Number two, you got to sit in a seat for a little while. Okay. This is one of the things I find to be interesting. Everybody's chasing the next job. So they're like, okay, I walk into this job and I'm automatically thinking about the next job I'm going to have. And I'm positioning myself by getting out in certain spaces, and maybe I'm, talking the talk, but you got to be able to have outcomes and sit in a seat a little while for the maturation to occur, the wisdom to come, that you're actually able to say you did something as a result of being in that seat. And then the last one that I would say is important. You have to be prepared that you can be the most competitive candidate for any position. So I tell, we actually, our classified Senate president, I don't know if she's on here, she and I will laugh sometime. She came into my office one day, and this is early on when I was here, and she said, I'm upset because a number of our classified folks don't have access to a number of the positions because people say that they don't have the degree. And I said, why wouldn't you have the degree? I said, here in the state of Nevada, in a lot of places, either we pay for it or highly subsidize your ability to pursue the credential. Why would you not want to have the credential? We're in the business of education. And I said, so I understand there's certain jobs where, yes, you may not need to have a credential or the highest credential to do that work. But if you're wanting to step into roles where you're going to have supervisory experience, you have to have subject area competence, how am I able to assess that if you haven't made available to yourself the education to do that work? So get the work, get the education, do the reading, get the experiences. You mentioned in the conversation serving on a board. When I was an English faculty member, one of the best spaces that I had, I give me words, I know words. I know how to read, I know how to write. I believe confidently in that. Where my weakness was actually in accounting. I didn't have background. So I step on boards. The first place that they want to put me on a board is in governance or on programming. I always volunteer to serve on finance, because here's an opportunity for me to get experiences outside of the space I'm in, but to give me depth, to help me understand. And that's where I learned how to read an auditor's report. I learned how to understand the types of questions I should be asking. And then when I translated it into my own environment and then took my finance and higher education class, those are things that were important. So you got to do the work. You got to be ready for it. And the last part I'll say to this is that sometimes that means you want to be able to do it where you are. Are you prepared to make that transition someplace else? There's only one president of Rio Salado College, right? So you're going to have to, if you aspire to do certain types of roles, you'll notice the further in that pyramid it goes, there are fewer of those roles. Here at Nevada State, there are 4 deans, right? So everybody's not going to be able to be one of those. So you're going to have to figure out, when you have developed the profile, the expertise, the outcomes, and the readiness to be able to step into those spaces to apply.
Thank you so much for capturing that so amazingly succinctly with incredible depth. I know that everybody on is really appreciating what you shared with them. And I loved your example, Darren, about the stepping into the finance committees always, right? I love that. That's such a good example for all of us. So thank you so much. And Raina, I think we want to open it up, correct?
Yes, and beautiful words of wisdom, Dr. Pollard. I mean, I feel we want to quote every other thing you're saying. Just really thanks for providing this with just the knowledge that we're really excited to be here for. But yeah, so we will transition now to the Q&A. So if you would like to unmute yourself, please raise your hand so we could go one by one. And if not, you could always utilize the chat as well, and we'll try to moderate. Okay, I already see some hands up. So let me go ahead. I'm going to move you to the main stage, Janine, and you should be able, and I could unmute you as well. So there we go. Let's do that really quick. Or Janine, I think you could unmute yourself actually. Yes,
I
perfect.
think I did. Hi, Dr. Pollard. I am your Cyclone, even though I'm kind of Michiganed up today, but I am also a U of M person. So, and I was actually, my wife and I were at Iowa State during your years there as a student. We worked in housing there. And I have a question about the the student kind of thing. You know, you were, it sounds like, well, an African American lesbian on an all white, very not very open campus at that time. um,
Mhm.
and you know, and just how would you talk to students about who are from identities that don't maybe match what's happening on a campus? How did you manage that? I'm like in awe that you met your wife there. That's where I met my wife too. So we both found love at Iowa State. Look at that.
How
Um,
about that?
but how did you navigate that environment, and how do you talk to students about navigating the environments they're in over time?
So I love that question because and there's a very different temperature and that the cultures were at those times. I was at Iowa State late 80s, early 90s, and it was the start of the culture wars that were occurring in higher education. And there was a certain privilege that I think that I enjoyed as a student that likely an employee did not have. And there was a comfort that I stepped into first in my Black identity, as my woman identity, and then certainly coming out and trying to figure out where I fit on this sexual spectrum, that a gender identity and so forth. That wasn't even, we didn't even have the language then to have the conversation. Here's what was important to me is that I found there were a number of people that I was able to identify. And I sort of, you know, we talk about wayfinding. There are certain, I found my way at the Carrie Chapman Catt Center for Women at Iowa State, right? And there are certain identifiers and safe spaces. Triangles mean something on campus communities. Rainbows mean something on campus communities. Had a good friend of mine who did a dissertation on the lived experiences of LGBT students on college campuses. And she asked them, how did you know if a space or a campus was safe? What were your lived experiences there? And the things they took, those things we take for granted along the way, those are important because they let students know where safe spaces are. It helps them know where they can go and talk to certain people. And that's what I did. I became a undergraduate where I found a day job, a work study job working in the Women's Center. And then the director of the Women's Center was an out lesbian and one of the few on campus. And she mentored me, and then she connected me with an English faculty member. And it was just a part of that. So that was a really important part. So as a result of that, and this is the other part where I think I will never forget this at Montgomery College when I was the president there, and I had only been there a couple of weeks, and I was walking along one of the campuses, and a student walked up to me, beautiful young man, Latino, and he said to me, he said, Dr. P, and he said, you're the new president. I said, yes, I'm the new president here. And he said, I want to tell you something. He said, I came out to my family. So then all of a sudden he starts bawling in the hallway, and I'm a sympathetic crier, so I start bawling with him, and we standing in the hallway crying with each other. And he tells me the story of how he came out, and his mom had said to his dad had disregarded him and really wasn't speaking to him. His mother, he said, every time she saw me, she started crying and said, you're going to ruin your future. You can't have a career. He said, but Dr. P, the day that you were named president of this institution, Montgomery, that I was in the Washington Post. He said, and I ran home. He said, and I showed my mom. He said, Mom, I may not be able to be anything, but I can be a college president someday, right? So this is why, that gave me another one. Why you show up in these spaces. Why I have always, from that moment, decided I'm going to live my life for the folks who need to see that, for those who may live in families and spaces where they don't value or understand their lived experiences. That to me was an important space. So I encourage us to think about those wayfinding imagery and people that we have on campus, and make sure, not to say that I got to carry the lived experience of every Black LGBT community one person, but to know that there's somebody looking and they need to see us in spaces because they may not receive other messages that they are valued. So that's what I tell students. Find, what Mr. Rogers said, find the helpers. I work hard to be one of those for other people.
Oh, thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for my heart. I felt like, I could see, I feel like we were there just to listen to your words and to see how it moves you, Dr. Pollard. Dr. Latrice, I'm so sorry. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, that's okay. There was a question from Cody. And Cody, his question is, with regards to DEIB, what steps are you taking in regards to hiring and promoting neurodivergent employees or candidates for employment?
You know, Cody, thank you for that. I actually don't know what we're doing as an institution in this space. I need to go and find out. I know it's come up in a couple of conversations that we've had, but I'm writing this down right now so that I can go back and have that conversation, not only with our HR area, but also we having the conversation writ large within the institution. And what I also love about your conversation is that oftentimes, your question is that one of the things we've allowed the naysayers to do is to define what DEI is, and inevitably they're talking about it only in terms of race. They talk about it only in terms of gender, only in terms of sexuality. They don't talk about ability. They don't talk about ageism. They don't talk about neurodivergence. And it's our job. So, you know, I got into a little healthy debate with one of our governance leaders at our I'll say one of our regents about you know, anti-wokeism, right? And it's this idea of saying, oh, and well, what do you really mean by that? And what we've done is it's oftentimes been equated with certain populations without talking about belonging writ large, without talking about all of the policy implications. So thank you for that, Cody. And I'm going to make sure that I speak with that. And Marcella just said, we hosted a teach-in on neurodiversity in March with the Writing Center. So there you go. We're doing work, but with hiring, I don't know if we've done that work, and I'll find out. I know, is it somebody said they have a question, Raina, that and you got her next. Oh, good. Okay, I'll be quiet.
No, you got it. Thank you so much. So sorry, Taiba. We're trying to go down the road. There's a lot of excitement and questions here. But thank you for your patience. I actually don't see your hand up here. Oh, yes, I do. So let me go ahead and read your X here, make you a panelist, and you're more than welcome to unmute yourself or turn your camera on, whatever.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
My question in the chat was, can you guys send me this event information in my email? The event?
Yes, no worry. Then we'll send the recording as well as the survey so you can let us know how this experience was.
So
Thank you so
were the
much.
slides too, or no slides? That was my question.
Oh, there
Oh, I'm
haven't been
sorry.
any
Were
slides.
there
I didn't have any
slides
slides.
from
No, there
the?
were no slides. I didn't use any slides. We just had one introductory slide that kind of said who I was, but there weren't any other
Okay.
slides. It's just been a lot of talking.
Oh, it's alright.
That's okay.
You're okay. I
Thank
will
you for
definitely
asking.
contact you. Yes,
Yeah,
I'll
that's okay.
contact you too, but any more in-depth things, more than happy to talk to you a little bit
Okay.
more. And thanks for joining this event and all the others. I have seen your name and asking
You're welcome.
questions. So thank you so much. Beautiful. Let's see. We had another hand up here. And this is Stevie. Yes.
Hi, Stevie. You're on mute, maybe.
Hey, sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
So we've seen how you support our diverse student population here at Nevada State, and especially our student leaders. How do you feel this approach has defined Nevada State University?
Yeah, I do thank you, Stevie, for that question. And I love the fact that we got Nevada State folks here as well as Rio Salado folks. One of the things that I think, even prior to my arrival here, Nevada State has had a reputation, a culture where student voices were critical, not only in decision making, but in allowing us to talk deeply about how we wanted to show up and differentiate ourselves as an institution. And that conversation was there. I think what I've tried to do, and I think your question speaks to that, is really amplify that where necessary, move students so it's not just their voices, but their experience, that we're maybe leading with those things first versus coming to them afterwards. So in spaces where I've had the opportunity to do that, one is to make sure that we are bringing students to the forefront. As some of you all, our internal audience would know, When some folks comes after our students, my job is to oftentimes make sure that I lead the battle back where necessary, that I'm making sure that as an organization that we're very deliberate about the fact that who we are and who our students are. And I think that has been probably one of the most, at least the role that I've tried to enjoy most or advance here most at Nevada State, is that we know who our students are. We celebrate them. We love them. We work very hard to do this work. And I think as a result of that, it is imperative that we always lead from that space, to put those students' voices first and to make sure that we are leading with them in mind. It's not necessarily about my lived experience as an employee, although that is definitely a part of what I do, but it's about making sure that those student voices and experiences, and even when they make us uncomfortable, are at the forefront of how we talk about the work of the university.
Beautiful. Thank you
Catherine,
so much.
and I see Catherine's questions. I talk with Tillery quite a bit, so I've been to Idea Council, so I'm happy to do that in the future. I think they invite the presidency in from time to time, so you tell Tillery he knows how to find me. He and I just talked, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Love that. I think I might have seen one last question. I know we're coming to time.
I thought that question about health and wellness, if you don't, I think that's a really important question somebody asked, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I think what we probably should also, I think health and wellness is an important one. Belonging is an important one. Some of members of my team are starting to ask some questions of how we position ourselves in case this climate reaches more deeply into Nevada that we're seeing across the nation. I think that is something we're going to see more about. What scares me, though, is what's lost in that. And we have to figure out how to mobilize more thoughtfully. The other day I was talking to somebody and I wrote it down. They said, what happened if we mobilize Pell? We look at this FAFSA mess that's happened across the nation. What if we were able to mobilize Pell Grant students more thoughtfully? And I sit here and think about this. So why don't we mobilize more deliberately and figure out how we start talking about a movement around DEI that is defined the way we see the work, not around the way others have tried to define it for us. And we have to be politically aware and culturally sensitive around how we show up. But I am more and more, I'm becoming less patient with the idea that we need to redefine ourselves because other folks do it. They may hold the purse right now, but we also have the ability to mobilize and to vote. And that's what I see us that we've got apathetic around political mobilization. And I love to see us do more about that.
So great finishing points here, Dr. Pollard, talking about financial literacy, community wealth, and how to integrate those into our systems of higher education. And I know we're past a little bit of time. Dr. Smith, if you'd like to finish us off for today.
Yeah, so Dr. Pollard, I was asked to kind of give a few takeaways from today, and I have filled 2 pages worth of takeaways. So I won't go through all of them, colleagues, because we are past noon, and I know a lot of people have places to go. I think I'll just summarize, Dr. Pollard, with thank you for sharing your authentic self. Thank you for being so 100% honest and present. Thank you for so concisely just going right to the heart of issue and item after item. It's such a gift that you've given all of us. And I just want to say thank you so much for that. And Raina, thank you for recording this. And colleagues, just please join me, from do the work. Everyone has the right to belong and everyone has the right to thrive. Have your confidence, have your truth tellers, sit in the seat for a while, get the degree, put yourself in places where you can learn and grow. How important the wayfinding imagery can be. How do we mobilize more deliberately? But really, most of all, just thank you for sharing who you are. Thank you for sharing your heart. We're so
Thank
deeply
you.
appreciative. And thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. It was an honor.
Thank you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. You're amazing. You're all amazing. Thanks for being here today, and let's continue the amazing work. Thanks for the inspiration, Dr. Pollard. Have a great one,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.